you're an entrepreneur, you must be really serious today about your business and trying to get your pricing right. Because I think we all know that if we don't have our price right, you're not going to have enough revenue coming in to keep your business sustainable. So thanks for being here today. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to pull up my slides and we can dive right in and get to some of the strategies out there that could be working for you right now, or possibly you may find some new ones that could be working better for you. So let me go ahead and share my screen, pull this up real quick for you. All right, so as Linda said, this is the first of a three-part series. This is all about products. The next one will be about services, totally different types of pricing strategies. And then the third one will be pulling it all together so that you can run a really lean and mean business to keep you totally out of the red so that you don't have a hobby, you really have a business. So that'll be pulling the whole thing together. So you definitely want to be here for that. But she kind of gave you the full review of who I am, but just some fun facts. I may be building companies and that's the serial entrepreneur, but now I'm kind of called a startup junkie. I guess, I'll take it either way. I actually like the startup junkie part better. I am an inventor, a former patent holder. I actually invented the slobber blotter. So go figure that one out. And I really do like the quote, "Don't let perfection be the enemy of good." I wish I knew that when I was younger, because I say to people, just launch it. If you keep waiting to be perfect, you're never going to get anywhere. And my passion is truly building companies from nothing, whether it's mine or yours. And I did innovate the START blueprint. And it is a process that I truly believe in because it does start with building a business from the ground up, and it is part of pricing. And I have 3 wonderful children, a husband, a dog, and a cat. How traditional could that be, right? So I have a few goals for us today. First, if you're an existing business owner right now, you have a company, as we go along, I want you to identify your current pricing strategy. Is it working for you right now? Are you making money? Are you able to pay your bills? And do you have money set aside? If it's working, great. But then I want you to look at some of the others. Can you also incorporate some of the others that we go through that could be additional revenue streams for you that could really take your business to the next level? If you are an existing business owner and all of a sudden you say, things are not working for me, I am slightly in the red or just breaking even, things are not quite there, then what I want you to do is look at the other strategies and let's come up with something else. How about if you're a new business owner? Let's find the best pricing strategy for you today. Things are a lot different than it used to be. It used to be a one-size-fits-all. It's not anymore. So what is your ideal price? Well, it seems pretty simple. Here's what they say. It's the one that convinces people to purchase your product, offering over similar products that your competitors have to offer. All right, such a simple definition, right? No, it's so much more complicated than that. But what I want to make sure that we go over today is that I simplify the process. I guess my company called 8 Simple Steps will give you the idea that I like simplicity. And so when we go through this entire presentation, you'll find that I simplify the process of pricing so that you can implement pricing into your business as simply as possible. So when we look at price considerations, when you sit down and you do a strategy, these are the things you have to take into consideration. What are your goals as a company? What type of revenue do you need to make? Also, your marketing objectives. Who is your target audience, like your demographics? Do you have a high-end audience? Do you maybe have a mid-scale audience, or are they a lower-end group in which they can't afford the type of product that you may be producing? You need to know who your audience is. What about your brand positioning, the worth and the value prop? Product attributes, your consumer demand, your competitors, you need to know everything about them. What about the market and economic trends? How about the materials? Everything it costs to produce that widget. Shipping costs to you and to the customer. All of your overhead, all of the fixed and the variable costs, everything has to be reviewed. And then any discounts, sales, events, your payroll, your salary, your employees, are you going to have sales reps? And then of course, profit has to be put in there. And sometimes people forget about that, but I'm going to get into that in a minute. One of the biggest things that people forget about when they're outlining all of their expenses that has to go into a pricing strategy, and I see it not just with small companies, but the large ones that have been brought in to turn around, is this one. Marketing. It is unbelievable to me when I see people don't add a marketing cost to their entire cost on their products. In fact, every single widget has to have a cost associated to it with marketing. So every little widget that rolls off the belt, that actually has to have the price of marketing associated with. So every Facebook ad, every single type of campaign that you do for print, if you go to a convention, that marketing budget that you put together is all part of an overhead cost. And people forget about marketing. So it eats into their profit, it eats into their pricing. So at the end of the day, they say, wow, I'm in the red. How did that happen? Where did the money go? And a lot of times it's because marketing ate into it, because the pricing of your product never allocated for it. Here are the 3 musts. When you come up with a pricing strategy, yes, you want to make sure that it can compete with your competitors, right? You want to convince them to buy your product over the others, but it must do 3 things. It has to cover your overhead, every single dime, including your cell phone bill, everything it takes to get that product on the market, every vendor you have to pay. Second, you have to pay yourself, and you have to pay yourself what you are worth. And what I mean by this is you have to be able to live, right? You didn't leave a corporate job to not be able to pay you what you want to be paid. Or are you going to live off that savings forever? Okay, if that's what you want to do, fine. But when the savings is over, you eventually have to make a living. So you have to adjust and figure out when that will be. So that pricing structure has to go into covering your overhead and paying you your salary when you're ready to figure out how to price this product. Then third, you have to allocate pricing the product to make a profit. This is the third area that a lot of people do not add in. Making a profit is in addition. And what I mean by this is that adding a percentage to it is for savings, for emergencies. It is the extra money that's in the bank account for when you're ready to scale, adding automation, adding an employee, maybe adding a second brick and mortar store, whatever you want to do to take your business to the next level. So this pricing strategy has to incorporate these 3 musts. So as you're looking at your business right now, ask yourself, are you covering all of your expenses? Are you paying yourself enough of a salary to cover all of your expenses and live the life that you want, that you left a corporate job for? And are you making enough profit to put money aside to scale and save for emergency? So write that down right now and see where you're at. And this is something I always say to people. Profit is not something to add on at the end. It's something to plan for in the beginning. And that's something people will say, okay, I've got my overhead covered. I'm even paying myself. And then they kind of stop there and don't think about the emergencies or the scale. And let's just think about COVID right now. I think about Cheesecake Factory every day. They didn't even have enough money to pay 6 weeks worth of rent. Nothing. There was no money in savings at all. That tells me they lived paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. That's because there was no profit at all. And you don't ever want to be in that situation in your business. So here are some considerations in your pricing strategy. It's called one thing, a weak pricing strategy, which is not what you want. A weak strategy does not accurately portray the value of your product, okay? First off, it goes back to poor branding, okay? When we look at poor branding, it means from the very beginning that you came up with a poor value prop. We don't want to just talk about price anymore. We want to talk about value. When you come up with really strong branding, it means that you've demonstrated value. You've demonstrated a really strong competitive differentiation out in the market. But if you have a weak pricing strategy, it means that you didn't actually portray the value of your product very well. Whereas excellent branding, you can actually command a 14% increase in your pricing. And if you believe you have a winning product out there, you can actually, and you should, right? Because you're selling it, it's yours, you should believe in it. You can command it. Now, if your pricing strategy is weak, people will feel it. They will know it. They'll feel tentative about buying from you. They just won't pull the trigger on it. And what it means is that you haven't targeted the right customers. And that again goes back to brand. You didn't know your right customer. You didn't get your value prop right. You didn't get your competitive differentiators straight. Okay. Some customers prefer value. Some want luxury. Some are cost conscious. You need to know who they are. And as I always say, know your customers better than they know themselves, just like you need to know your competitors better than they know themselves. Here's perception. Higher prices portray value. We always say that. It reflects a high-end brand. It's perceived as worthy of the price. It ensures confidence to deliver the promise and achieve the results. It means it's well made. But remember, don't price gouge, because that can be a negative perception of being taken advantage of. And if you do that, people lose trust in you. Now, low prices, don't they sometimes portray cheap or poorly made? And then that's perceived as being a limited lifespan. As soon as I buy this, forget it, it's gone. It demonstrates your lack of authority in an industry, lack of equality, lack of authenticity. It's a knockoff, it's a generic. They expect to be disappointed. In fact, if somebody gives you a $49 product and yet there's a $99 one, most people will say, I don't even want to spend the $49 on that, because I can go get one for $99 and I'm looking at it and I'm looking at the quality, I'm looking at that name brand, I'm looking at their reputation. I think it's better made. Their branding is better. The value that I'm seeing is better. We've done it. We all do it. And it comes right down to the value prop that they've given to their customers. It's a perception in the marketplace. So when you come up with a pricing strategy, go back to how are people going to perceive your value and what you're going to deliver. Oops. All right, so let's go through some of our pricing strategies and which one is yours. Now, there are so many more than just the two we're going to start with. This is your typical one that most people will do when they have a product. Okay, you're going to calculate all your costs right down to your cell phone. And then you're going to go ahead and add your desired profit. Okay, I want to make 20%. And then you've set your price and you're ready to go. Here's the problem with this. Most people forget to pay themselves when they add up all their costs. If you want to do this cost plus pricing strategy, that's fine. The only thing I want to say is pay yourself when you add up all your costs. So right now, if this is what you're doing, ask yourself, is my salary in my overhead? And is my profit enough of a markup where I have enough money in savings for the long term? And am I still competitive? And is it still reflective of my brand to demonstrate value, to demonstrate the high end that I want to be? And is it appropriate for my target audience? And are you in the red or are you out of the red? This cost plus pricing has been the one that everybody follows, but there are so many new ones now. You may find you like better if this is the one you're using. This is the second one, competitive based pricing. Everybody just goes when they're in business and says, all right, I'm going to look up all my competitors out there. I'm going to see what they're pricing. I'm going to compare it. And I'm either going to do 1, 2, 3 things. Let me see. I'm going to go exactly at what they're pricing, dead even. And that's what I'm going to price it at. So we're both even. That'll be great. Or I'm going to go just slightly below, maybe 50 cents, 60 cents, 10 cents. And it'll all just be a wash. Or I'll just go slightly higher, not too much, but it'll all just be a wash and we'll all look good together. But here's the problem. Your business is not the same as theirs. You don't have the same overhead as them. You don't have the same resources. You may not have the same business plan and financial objectives. You're just not the same company. So comparing apples to oranges is not the same thing. It's not going to get you the same place. Don't ever compare your business to another's. Now, it's great to get competitive intelligence. You have to do that. You've got to know what the pulse of the industry is out there. But you may have a stronger brand. You may be one of those that can command that 14% more because you have stronger value props. You've targeted your audience. You have competitive differentiators that they don't. You could command more than 10 cents than the others. So this is great for market research, but don't sell yourself short here. So I know a lot of people like to do this, and this is fine as long as you're making money. But take a step back and say, are you maybe not making as much as you could by just going and saying, I'll charge the same as my friend next door? Let me share with you what Apple is brilliant at. Now, this is called skimming it. If some of you out there have a product that is so unique, it is brand new, you have a patent on it, it's proprietary, nobody's ever seen anything else like it, Apple's brilliant at coming out with the latest and greatest. They can skim it, where they charge the absolute highest initial price that customers will pay. And then what they do is that when they've kind of saturated the market or they've got a competitor who's just kind of catching up, they're going to get ready to launch, then they'll all of a sudden lower it and let the masses come in. Now, this is great if you have a following and people are waiting and they're clamoring and they will go ahead and buy it. Kind of hard for new people unless you have a proprietary patent and people are waiting for something. The problem here is it can annoy your early adopters and your loyal customers if you slash the price too soon. They've already paid $1,000 for something, and then all of a sudden, a couple months later, you slash the price by half. So you got to be really careful with something called skimming it. Now, for my new entrepreneurs out there, if you have invented something, you can charge that premium price for it, probably for as long as the next person who comes out with something similar. This is a great way to do it. But you better have something really, really special in order to skim it. This is one that usually the big guys can do. This is penetration pricing strategy. This one I get a little bit nervous with. you set a very low price quickly to get into the market. This is like really, really cheap. I'm not talking 10 or 15 cents lower than your competitors, because that's typically where you will stay in that competitive pricing strategy. This is where you're really, really low. All right. And so you try and get them as quickly as possible. You're going to disrupt the market. You're going to take a temporary loss. So I don't like this, because you're kind of in the red right off the bat as an entrepreneur. And I don't like that. I like businesses who are steady and stable right from the beginning. They're not in the red at all at launch. So penetration pricing strategies kind of bother me for entrepreneurship. But if this is something you think is kind of cool, you get in there, bare bones, you get all these customers falling in love with your product, and then you raise it higher and higher and higher. Here's the problem, is that the people you probably attracted were so price conscious to begin with that all of a sudden your brand is considered kind of the cheapy brand, the low cost product. One, was that really what you were going for? Two, you can't sustain those type of margins, right? You're taking losses. Are you going to be able to run a company later on that price? Probably not. Three, you're going to lose those customers who you did get, because they're not going to be able to afford the product moving forward or anything else you come out with. The whole business model overall is not going to work for the long term. So when I look at the penetration pricing strategy, I take a step back and say, unless you're a company who has so many products like this one's really a loss leader type of strategy for businesses, where I would stay away from it. Dynamic pricing. This one's really cool, and it's one that has gained so much traction, especially with Amazon. Amazon uses this all the time, and you may see this if you're buying from Amazon. So Amazon moves prices in and out. It's fluid. You'll see it with the rental car industry as well. You'll see it also with airline tickets. So what this is that they will set certain prices throughout the day, holidays. It's seasonal as well. So you'll be looking at different prices, and all of a sudden they'll notice that people aren't buying it at a certain price. They're looking at it and they're not buying. So all of a sudden they'll change the price to see if they can stir up business. And all of a sudden, they find that people are buying it at that price. And so they change the price. And then they'll change it again during the holidays by raising it. So it's like fluid depending on current market demands. Rental cars. Rental cars will be different prices in different areas. Like during spring break in Florida, it'll be a different price during different months. Different areas, season tickets for airlines going to different places. So it's at different times of the year, different places, different, if you have an e-commerce product and you're monitoring it and you're finding that it's super, super popular and people are buying a lot of it, and then what you could do is just raise it up $1 or $2. Because the popularity of it, and you're like, you know what? This is a really good bestseller. I'm going to just raise it $1 or $2 because the demand is there. This is where you just watch it, and it's dynamic and it rolls in and out. It's a great way to make additional revenue. Love freemiums. This, I think, is one of the best ways to incorporate another opportunity of revenue. It may not be the only thing you do, but it could be another area that you add into a revenue stream. So I think we've all maybe utilized MailChimp or Canva. Some of us have Spotify. This is where you offer a free version of your product or service and then upsell them into a paid version. And I love this because it gives you the opportunity for people to come in, try your product, and get to know you, build loyalty. they get to have some vested interest. Like with MailChimp, you get 1,500 subscribers that you can go ahead and send emails to. Of course, you only get 1,500 for the free version. You can only send maybe like 10 emails a month. You only get one list that you can do. It's extremely limited. But then you're vested. Once your business grows, you're not going to jump ship to another because you've already got the whole thing set up. I've already got all my templates in there. I've already got a whole book of data and information. And now I'm going to bump up to the business one, which, believe it or not, the business one is more expensive than if I had started with Constant Contact from the beginning where it was not a paid version. Canva, same thing. Everything is free. But the real great templates and all the graphics and the real meat and potato stuff, I got to pay for. So giving away these like free options that are just a tad of content. If you have a membership product, just give them a tidbit of what you have to lure them in. Then you got them. So it's like free and then bump them up to the premium. If you notice, a lot of people give out free premium masterclasses, free content. People love free, and they really get to know you so much better. This is one of the best pricing strategies that has come out in the last couple of years that every entrepreneur can really utilize to build trust and loyalty in their business. One price for all. Now, the reason I love this is that if you're manufacturing something and you find that you have, a good example is a bakery, and you find like you have ingredients all across the board and you're like, gosh, the chocolate chip cookies are so much more expensive to produce than the sugar cookies. How do I price all these different products? You know, is it $1.99 for this one and 99 cents? Don't do that. Regardless of the color, the flavor, the size, style, everything is the same price. These purses, they're $9.99 across the board. It may only cost you $3.99 to produce one and $1.99 to produce the other, but they're $9.99 across the board for all of them. That way, you may lose a little bit of money on one, but you'll make so much more money on the other that it all balances out, and it simplifies your accounting. It simplifies the ease of production. Customers see the same value for the same product, all within the same category, and you actually make, in the end, so much more money streamlining it clear across the board in productivity, in logistics, and in profit. One price for all, especially in something that has a lot of manufacturing, is the best way to go. And then bundling it. This is also great if you have samples, you want to do bonus gifts with purchase or upsells, you have lots of volume purchases, introducing new products. This is also about value. If you notice, we're talking more about value than we are even about a price. This is all about kind of the psychology and getting in people's heads. They love it. Buy two and save. Giving them something as if they feel they're getting a bonus, a value. Giving them something as if you care enough about them makes them feel like they have a connection with you. Economy. Walmart's great at this. If this is what you want your brand to be, this is awesome. It's very good in commodities. It's not great for subscription businesses or any type of SaaS companies, technology companies. It's really a loss leader. Again, it's where you're making something so cheap, you make absolutely nothing, but you're hoping to make it up in volume. And unless you have really, really great manufacturing facilities and you can produce a ton of it and you have other products to make it back on the other end, This most likely is not for a lot of entrepreneurs out there, but I'm throwing it out there and it is available for you. Discrimination pricing. You see this all the time. At the movies, they do this. Kids and seniors get different prices. What I like, though, is that HubSpot and Drift are now doing it. So startup entrepreneurs, if you have a very small business, get a discount for their services than larger corporations. And some of the other tech companies are doing this too. So if you have certain products, if you want to build relationships with companies, you can have the opportunity to work with them and build relationships so that you give a discount for your products, depending on the size of the company, nonprofit versus for profit. People do this all the time where they work with companies based on sizes, geographies, employees. That's up to you. And that's a great way to build loyalty with different businesses. And that's a pricing structure. Here's the one I want to really focus in on. I gave you a lot of different ones here, but the one I really want you to look at is value-based pricing, because I've mentioned the word value so many times. And this one is all about the customer. And this is all about data, which we should be doing all the time anyway, all about market research. And it's all based about what the customer wants. It's based about what they're willing to pay, but it's based about their needs, their desire, their urgencies, and the complexity of the situation. The price is solely dictated about the customer either wanting a higher or a lower price, but it's about choices. It's about flexibility. It's about customization. It's about being fluid with them. Now, it's really about you doing your research through surveys, through conversations, through buying personas. Remember when I said it's about you knowing your customer better than they know themselves? This is where you get to know them so well that you can pinpoint a price that, whether it's higher or lower, this is where you come up with the perfect price that they're willing to pay. And they're willing to pay easily. So it's something that boosts sentiment and loyalty and advocacy. And I like the example on the right at the bottom. You assess the customer. You set a target price to match the perceived value. And then you determine what it's going to cost to build it that will incur. And you have to make sure that those costs will cover all the overhead that we talked about, paying you what you're worth, making sure you have a profit. And that's how you set the price. So they have to jive. You can't just have a customer dictate what they want to pay, and it doesn't jive with your revenue goals. External and internal, it's a mutually beneficial partnership. Can't run a business without it. Other than cost-based pricing, which we talked about first, whereas you just design a good product, you determine your product cost, you set the price based on the cost, and you throw it out there. Just doesn't quite fly today. Customers want to feel special. It's all about choices and customization. So if you look at Register at the top, they offer choices. If somebody only finds value in their digital pass, which just offers them maybe 3 or 4 choices in that pass, it's $49. And that's all I want to pay. But then they offer a content pass, and that one's $119. As a consumer, I love this company because I get 2 different options out there. One has less stuff that I care about. That's all I want. The other one has more, and I pay for it. It's my decision. That's what people want, is flexibility. It's like going to a food truck. I don't want all 3 things in that platter. I only want one. Give me the opportunity to buy one. This is what customization and specialization and value pricing is all about. It's not one size fits all for them. it's choices. And if you really want to please your customer, value-based pricing is the best pricing for products, for services, for anybody clear across the board. Let's look at a few different industries to sum up which ones would most likely be the best. Digital products, if you have one of those, competition-based, freemium, and value-based pricing would be the three most likely that you can implement with the greatest revenue success. If you have an e-commerce company right now, competitive, cost-based, dynamic, freemium penetration, and value-based, we find those clear across the board can be implemented with great success. If you have restaurants, food trucks, a bakery, any type of food-oriented products, cost plus, premium, and value-based. If you're in manufacturing with any widgets that are rolling off the plant, competitive, cost plus, and again, value-based. Physical product recommendations, cost plus, competitive, and value-based. So I want to go through a few tips that increase profit margins. These are a few things that a lot of people sometimes overlook. And the first thing is sell what your customers really want. So do all the market research. Sometimes we like to come out with a lot of things that we love because we get so excited about our products and we want to create so many of them. And I say to people, come out with the ones just that they want first and the ones that are easiest for us to produce before we're ready to scale. When we have revenue, when we have employees, we can add others, but let's just nail the ones we have, the ones that we can really, really bring to market. Make them absolutely phenomenal. Get rid of the low performing ones too. If they're not working for you, they're taking out too much of your revenue, they're too difficult to produce, pivot quickly and let them go. And just keep it all streamlined and simple. Here is a great tip as far as pricing. It's called charm pricing. Prices ending in odd numbers increase sales by 24% on average, then rounding the numbers. And 9 is the greatest one. So if you price something at $9.99, it's much more effective than $10. $100 doesn't work as well as $99.99. So if you go to the grocery store, if you go to any of your the mall and you see clothing, it's most likely you'll see something with 99 cents at the end of it. And there is a reason for that. So if you're looking at your pricing right now, ask yourself, maybe if I don't have 99 at the end of it, maybe you should, because there could be a 24% increase in your future with that. Raise your prices on your best sellers. If they're buying it, they like it. Experiment with it. Maybe $1, $2, they may not miss a beat. And then it'll make up for the ones that maybe aren't doing it for you. So the profit margins that are not that great for the other ones, you'll get a little more revenue in there. Take advantage of the seasonal discounts. Give free shipping during the holidays as a promo. And then what you can do is that actually generates volume revenue. People love free shipping. They have discovered that free shipping, they will pay more money for a product if you give them free shipping. Unbelievable. Give them free shipping and raise your product price. You'll actually get more sales. And then this is the upsell and the cross-sell. If you have an e-commerce price or e-commerce product and website, always recommend one or more products. Have it pop up. You see it all the time with websites, Amazon, Macy's, any of your e-commerce sites always have, and you may like, perfectly goes with. Somebody else also purchased this. Those are cross-sells, additional products that go, or upsells. Not everybody knows every product that you have. They may not realize all the other great things you have that could go and add value to their life. Let them know about it. Message them with another valuable product. It's amazing how many additional products you can sell by doing that and how much more revenue you get. So here are my final thoughts. Be thoughtful and data focused with your pricing strategies and decisions. This is actually what determines your sustainability, because the revenue you have coming in is what determines how you can pay your bills, yourself, and the profit. So you have to pay yourself, you have to pay your bills, and you have to pay your future. Price your product that reflects your brand identity. If you want to be known as somebody like Kohl's that offers coupons all the time, then that's fine. That's what your brand is, and those are your target customers. But if you want to be perceived as somebody who is high-end and a quality product, then you have to make sure that that value comes across and that you price it accordingly. If not, pricing it too low will be perceived as cheap. Price your product with customers in mind always, and your business in mind always, because it's got to be a mutually beneficial relationship. You both have to be benefiting from this. You've got to make money, and they've got to get something they love. Price your product with flexibility. It's got to be fluid. You have many different ways you can price here. Execute revenue driving best practices to increase your profits. You've got many different things you can implement here. And never stop evaluating the market conditions and customer fluctuations. Everything changes. Your customers change at the drop of a dime. For everybody who's here, I'm actually gifting everybody with an email course. For those of you who do email marketing, and I highly recommend it, email marketing has a 4,300% return on investment. So for anybody here, there's a free course available for all of you to increase open rates by over 20%. It has all of my best practices, all of my best subject lines that you can put in. All you have to do is just send me a quick email. Let me know that you like it. I'll send you the PDF and the course. And I really appreciate everybody for showing up today. And I hope these pricing strategies are helpful for you.